Are we ready and qualified? So when we say we are ready to do a thing, it means I want to do. For example, when I like to drive a car, I must qualify to drive. I should have a driving license. Even before I am required to learn the driving, pass the driving examination. So now ask the question, can I meditate? And we simply say, yes, I can meditate. Let me close my eyes and sit and continue to think all about my pain, suffering, honey, money. And then we complain that the mind is wandering. Mind is distracted. When you have learned driving, you have passed the examination, and you have a driving license, you never complain. Oh, there are a lot of traffic on the road, people are crazy, they don't know how to drive. You don't pay attention to them, and you know how to drive safely. Same thing happens. Can I meditate and awaken to peace and happiness? So when we say, I want to meditate, we have to explore, am I ready? One thing, do I qualify? Do I desire for meditation? So my willingness moves me a step forward. We can also say desire for meditation. Now, answer one more question, that why I want to drive. I want to enjoy driving. That can be used, my driving can be used to reach to home, to reach to workplace, go for vacation. So do I know what is the desire for meditation? So there has to be a clear understanding. And when I say I have a desire to meditate, I must have a clear understanding that there is no everlasting peace and happiness in the world outside. I'm not able to find out peace and happiness in day-to-day living. I have yet to experience the everlasting peace and happiness. If these thoughts are coming to your mind, then yes, then we can move forward. Otherwise, take the same example, I want to drive, I don't have a driving license. Give me the keys, let me put the key, and then I drive, and I hit someone. So here in meditation, when we are not clear, we hit our own mind. That is crazy, that is blaming, that is complaining, and that is always stressed. So you stress yourself little more in the practice of meditation. So we have to understand clearly. What to understand? That peace and happiness, says all the masters who have taught meditation for more than 6,000 years, they say it can be found inside. Now the mind is ready to stop blaming, complaining, reacting, and then that mind asks, is there peace and happiness in life? I have lived my life with people. I have lived my life as a single. I have lived my life as a divorced. I have lived my life with lot of money at one time, and I lived my life without money at the second time. I lived my life with parents, with possessions, and something is missing. That something is missing. What is that? Can I find it out? So once we have those questions in our mind, when we have right questions in our mind, then we are becoming ready for meditation. What are those? I have seen life. I have seen life being single. I have seen life being single, divorced, married, kids, no kids. I have seen my life with money and no money, hard work and laziness. I have also seen life by blaming, complaining, reacting to others. No peace and happiness. No peace and happiness. Still I find something hidden. Can I find it? Can I find that peace and happiness in my life? Simple, it's a factual understanding. I have to learn from my experiences. If I'm not learning from my experiences, nothing is going to happen. So we return again. Am I ready to meditate? So when I'm ready to meditate, it means I'm very clear that I have learned from my experiences. All my experiences minus meditation did not offer me peace and happiness. I am not happy. I am not at peace. Whether married, divorced or single, still searching for happiness. I did not learn from my experiences. If I'm still looking outside to marry or to divorce or to remain busy, to get hyperactive, no. Whether I crave for fulfillment of desire driven by my instinct, sex, food, sleep, safety, you know that craving for something outside is an hesitation in the mind, and that prevents you from learning. So we realize what we realize. I have experienced cravings in my life. Craving for sex, craving for food, craving for sleep, craving for new objects. And I start buying the things that I don't need, and I continue to accumulate those possessions and objects. I continue to build relationship. Oh, this guy is good. Yes, he or she may be good. What about you? Are you in peace and happiness? No, because this guy is good, so it will give me peace and happiness. You see that? Until the mind learns from one's own experiences. For example, here, we have met thousands of people, out of which many we felt gave us happiness. They are gone. Others made us crazy. We disliked, we hated them. And we are still running. We never realize that anyone outside cannot give me everlasting peace and happiness. So once we learn this fact from our experiences, the mind starts undergoing a change. Remember, are you ready to drive? Are you eligible to drive? Are you ready to meditate? Do you qualify to meditate? With reference to an analogy of a car. So I want to meditate because I want to live in peace and happiness. Because I want to search, is there any everlasting peace and happiness in my life? I want to meditate because I experienced in my life that people, possession, place, outside cannot give me everlasting peace and happiness. I go for vacation, I find a beautiful place, and I experience peace and happiness. Is it really peace and happiness, or I forgot? For the time being, I forgot that I have to do nothing. Is forgetfulness peace and happiness? So I qualify when I learn the basics of Eastern wisdom. So now, once the mind is clear, mind knows I have to pass the examination. Where is the basic examination? I say big no to anything and everything outside that can ever give me everlasting peace and happiness. It doesn't mean that you go to your home today and declare to your honey, come on, you cannot give me peace and happiness. That is the impure mind. We are looking inside. When we make a statement that nothing outside can bring us everlasting peace and happiness, that is your experience. You have learned, you have tried, you have worked hard. Then the master introduces a principle. It says the self within is the source of peace and happiness. The self that hides behind the mind. So that source is subjective reality. It is real self or our true nature. We are understanding the principles. When you can understand the principles, when you are ready, when you are fired up, when you are committed, that is how you go to motor vehicle to pass the examination. You read something about it. So what you have read in your life, that nothing outside can give us everlasting peace and happiness. So now we have come to a principle. Will you take a right or left turn when you are giving an examination, written examination to get a driving license? So now you are learning. No left, right, up and down. There are many directions. There is a direction upward, downward, north, south, east, west, front and the back. Which direction we have to choose to meditate? the direction that helps the mind to move within. Why? Because the meditation is a discovery of the self, the true nature. It doesn't lie in me, your true nature. It lies in you. That is the first principle. So now what happens when the mind turns inward, when you are ready to move the mind inward, then what happens? The mind drops blame, complaint, reaction, resistance, anger, hesitation, with reference to people, place, position, time. You see that the mind stops being lazy and crazy and agitated. So what should I do? So then the master says, you have to listen the principles of the Eastern wisdom and check, can you repeat the principles as it is? So you have learned one principle. The moment your mind looks for peace and happiness, does this mind starts moving inside? It points that peace and happiness is inside. It is not outside. Then what happens? Because you have learned the principles as it is, in your daily experiences, the mind that was looking for everlasting peace and happiness in the objects outside stops. Now you start living with awareness. I have to get the things with this person. I have to use this possession, an object or instrument. But at the same time, you remember peace and happiness is inside. So whenever your mind starts running away from you, because you learn the principles, because you remember it, so what happens? The moment the mind starts running away from you, you bring it back and you become aware that it should move within. How easy it is. It is very difficult to control the mind. People complain. There is no need to control. And if you experience the mind is difficult to control, then you did not understand the principle. And you jump to the conclusion very fast. So when you jump to the conclusion that no, it is difficult to control the mind has not learned the first principle, that the peace and happiness lies within me. I have to leave all the directions, northeast, west, south, up and down, all the directions except one. And that direction is start looking inside. Then what happens when you start looking inside? Then you don't say it is difficult to control the mind. Why the master says to look inside? So the moment we look outside, the mind has created a superficial nature based on likes and dislikes, pain and pleasure, past and future. So when the mind is running in likes and dislikes, in victory and defeat, in profit and loss, in pain and pleasure, it has created a superficial nature. It is an acquired nature created by the mind based on desire. Desire is nothing but the sense of incompleteness and seeking something else for peace and happiness. That leads to ignorance and results in stress and suffering. Make it simple. You want to drive. Before passing the examination and actually learning the driving, the mind complains, I need this car to drive. No, this guy is not driving good. You don't know, but you make your opinion. And that keeps the mind outside. So, I have a neighbor who owns 15 years old coupe car. It's a high-end car, but 15 years old. On weekends, I see him working on the car for hours together, repairing. He spent $6,000 replacing the engine, another $3,000 for repairing. But he likes the car. He loves the car. He wants the car should run like any other new car. Is that possible? 15 years old car. Is he not attached? Is he not forgetting that pushing the car too hard is craving and hesitation? The same way, why don't you change? I have changed a lot, honey. Then we start blaming. Why don't you change? Why don't you understand? So this is a very subtle level of ignorance where the mind cleverly, cunningly continues to live outside in search of peace and happiness. Honey, I come here for meditation. I practice it regularly. You should also do it. And sometime I have heard people saying to their honey, you know that meditation session is for you. You see that the mind is still running outside. You come to attend meditation session to change yourself, but the mind says, no, this is not for me, this is for him. I'm right, I'm socially, morally, otherwise right. Then what happens? You continue to suffer. You go back, I told you, honey, you don't understand. Go back, practice meditation, change yourself. We forget that I need to change myself. This is a very subtle, acquired nature people do not understand. How you will understand? When you pass the examination, when you learn from your experiences, when you have an intense desire, when you qualify. Don't start reading books on how to fly an aeroplane when you are preparing for driving a car. And that is what we do. We go to the class, we hear from the master, and the master says, change yourself. We go back and we say, change. We want to change the world outside. Then what happens? It is another way, very subtle. The mind cheats you. So here the master says, start working on the mind. Instead, the mind works on you. So we should be very clear about the subject matter of the meditation. Where is the subject matter? I have a wrong notion about who am I. I have a wrong notion about this world outside. I have a wrong notion about the existence. And I don't know how to live in peace and happiness from moment to moment. Am I not clear? So we remove that wrong notion. We correct that wrong thinking. So that is how simple it is. Then what is the goal? We have already understood in the very first principle, the source of happiness lies within me. The source of peace lies within me. How simple it is. Then we follow simple principles. Then we follow the simple principles. Whatever prevents my mind to look inside, I must get rid of that. What prevents me to make an accident? That's why I understand the principle of driving. I passed the examination to get a driving license. The same thing. Same thing happens in meditation also. Going little further, simple understanding, again, I am. Just become aware, I am. Reject what comes after I am. I'm single, I'm married, I'm divorced, I'm a businessman, I'm good, I'm bad. Reject everything that comes after I am. I am is always present. After that, it is my acquired nature. I am stressed, acquired nature. Now I forget I am and I remember stress. I'm husband, so I forget I am. I become husband. See that. Have you seen any husband giving everlasting peace and happiness? Have you seen wife? No. So first become aware I am without any label. So when there is no label that is created by the mind, so you don't have any acquired nature at this moment. That is real you. When you live into that state of awareness of I am only, you're already in peace and happiness. But the Master goes further. First thing, I am. Now understand. Second thing, who knows I am? First is, I am, you are aware of it. And now become aware, who knows I am? The same I am. And that I am is the self. So what happens? The self knows the self. First, I am. Then, I know I am. See that? Objective reality. Now look at the world. That is why I told you to learn from your experiences. When I know you, I am here, you are there. There are two things. Now see the journey of meditation. First I become aware of I am, and I know I am. Who knows that I am? I. And that I am is the self. It is one and the same thing. So when you know the world, you know I am and what I am not. And when you know only I am, it is the same self that knows the self. I know I'm in waking state, I'm in sleeping state, I'm in dreaming state every day. You meet your friends after 10 years. It takes time to remember. And sometimes we forget. But we never forget, even after 50 years, I am. Now I am looking for happiness. Why? Because I want to live in happiness. So two things. First thing, I am, I'm aware. Second thing, I know I am. Third thing, who knows I am? I know myself. I don't ask you, please tell me who am I. Now I'm looking for happiness. Why? Because I want to live in happiness. I'm happy because I'm married to you and divorced. I'm still looking for happiness for me. When I say this, so what happens? Take an example. I go eat chicken and I'm very happy. Happiness disappears after some time. I'm unhappy again. I go again and eat it. So after a couple of times I realize this is not the happiness I'm looking for. One way to contemplate and correct our thinking. And the second way, let me find out when I eat, I feel happy. I feel happy. So I ask myself, is the happiness in chicken or is the happiness in me? So when we contemplate and reflect on, then we realize the hesitation caused by the craving for chicken drops down when I'm eating the chicken. So when the hesitation inside my mind drops, the happiness from inside manifests and expresses itself. Wow, a great discovery. Now comes the three things. I am, yes. I know I am, yes. Now I know I am happiness. That is the success in meditation. So the moment I discover, come on, I am happiness. I'm not in happiness. I am the happiness. That is the summit. That is the journey of meditation we undertake. So now another question comes. I know it. Still I don't know it. You see that? I explained it, and then the mind says, yes, I understand it intellectually, still I don't know it. So the master says, why? Because we live in ignorance. How simple it is. I know it when I say I am happy, and I don't know it when I say I'm happy because I'm married or divorced or single, I have everything. So what happens? Understand that clearly. Being married, single or divorced is not a certificate of happiness, but you and only you. So what happened? The mind starts a wrong thinking. It returns to a wrong notion about who am I. I know it, still I don't know it. So that state of the mind causes the ignorance. So I know it, okay, still I don't know it, therefore I am running after people, after a place, after a position in the event and time. I create and start thinking about God, demon, angel, master, teacher. Oh, this teacher will give me peace and happiness. That is also ignorance, but we need that in the beginning. Oh, let the God bless me, and we start blessing others. And we start seeking the blessing from others. The mind is still running. That is a great ignorance. So the master says everything, God, demon, angel, senses, mind, intellect, ego are created by this ignorance. Meditation is moving from ignorance to wisdom. I work because I will have pleasure, and I have pleasure, so I will work. This is another level of ignorance. I earn some money, and I bought something, then I receive pleasure. So because I receive pleasure, so I must work. No doubt you work for your livelihood. But you need not to work for happiness and peace because it lies within us. No, you don't understand. That is another level of ignorance. I'm returning again. I fish in a river. The river means that has a continuous flow. It pierces and crushes many mountains. It is continuously running. So what happens? We become like a fish. We continue to float by the tide of a river. The moment that fish stops at a rock, we say, how much I have earned. I become big by position and authority. I enjoy it. And after some time, the river pushes the fish out of that rock and we start falling again into pain and pleasure. That is another way of ignorance. Understand, my friend, the water in the ocean is huge. We have almost more than half of the earth is full of ocean water. But it is not for drinking. Only the rainwater, the spring water is used for drinking. We are living in the ocean of the world with honey, money, possessions, millions of things. But the real happiness lies within you. That water of peace and happiness falls from the source, from the self. What the teacher has to do? Teacher corrects your wrong notion in thinking based on the principles of the Eastern wisdom. Teacher helps you through learning the principles, how to contemplate and reflect, how to meditate, how to change your mind that is causing the suffering. But the mind, are you ready and qualified? Same thing. So we have to pay a lot of attention, learning from our own experiences and preparing ourselves and being qualified. So what the teacher does, look at it. A candle flame is disturbed by the wind. So here, that flame is the mind. Is disturbed by the wind of pleasure, pain, suffering, wrong notion, your opinion. What the teacher does? Teacher put a lid or a cover that prevents the wind of desire, pleasure, past impression to move the flame of mind. So what happens to the mind? Mind experiences the relaxation, free from and any dependence on anything outside. And what is that lid? Lid is a principle, it is a practice, it is an understanding. When the mind is calm, the flame of awareness is not disturbed. When the flame of awareness is not disturbed, then what do you see? The mind is absorbed deeper inside. It discovers the peace and happiness within. Understand the last part. Ignorance and wisdom cannot coexist together. What it means, the darkness and the light cannot coexist together. The right and the wrong notion cannot coexist together. The wrong notion and the right notion about you cannot coexist together. There is a reality behind every wrong notion and perception. So when we have a right perception, wrong notion drops. It is like when there is a light, darkness cannot be there. Darkness and light cannot coexist together. So we have many layers of existence due to the mind-acquired nature of our experiences of pleasure, pain, profit, loss, craving, blaming, complaining. And that is what we remove layer by layer until we experience that light shines. What is that light? Light of the self. So two things happens. That light, I'm giving you a lesson in front of a light. So this light has lightened every object in this room, and it has also lightened itself. There is always a bright light, so I need not to bring a candle to see this light. Same thing, the self not only lightens every object of this universe, the world outside, but the self enlightens itself. That is, enlightening is nothing but enlightenment, awakening to inner peace and happiness. Continue to contemplate and think about it, reflect it, correct your wrong notion. You will be in the state of meditation. Thank you for listening and tolerating.